Right, hi guys, so in this video we're going to be looking at how to make £10,000 a month with a cleaning business, even if you are a complete beginner. So beginners, this is completely for you. What we're going to be looking at is a breakdown of the 10 grand a month, because I love this question. I always get asked, how quickly can I scale to 10 grand a month? How quickly can I scale to 5 grand a month? And it's always a really tough answer, to be honest with you, and I'll break that down for you in a moment. The next, we're going to be looking at the core business pillars that we need for the setup, and essentially your blueprint of the business, to make sure that everything's fully aligned so that it works. Simple as that, really. There is literally 3 core business pillars that we look at when it comes to the setup. So coming back to the 10 grand a month breakdown now, always a really tough question, because you can kind of relate it to so many different services and setups. If you took a very, very small ad budget, and I'll break down ads for you a little bit later on in this video, we could run a pretty small ad budget, you know, even generating something like £200–300 in the first month is going to get you some significant leads at a local service rate. So that's like aiming at local services, something that we take a look at with Google. And all it takes is one job in a commercial sector where you could be looking upwards of, you know, thousands of pounds. And I know it's kind of probably a bit of a get out answer kind of thing, but if you did it, if you related it to, let's say, a day's jet washing, for example, and we're talking like £300 for a day's jet washing, we're talking a driveway, something like that. Okay, so then we're going to need a little bit more volume, but still with a profit of maybe 50% if we've got 100% markup, or even if we're looking at £100 profit, you know, to scale that, there's only so many jobs that you really need to be able to get to that 5 grand mark. And if we're bringing in recurring revenue strategies and things like that as well, that's giving insanity with profit every single month. But like I say, this is very, very easy to hit, and that's no word of a lie. 10k per month is a perfect starting point to really get the business off the ground pretty quickly. There are so many different sectors where that is just a pretty standard number. If you look at like construction cleaning, for example, most construction cleaning jobs in the commercial sector are pushing thousands of pounds upwards. If you know my business background, I've done Wimbledon Tennis Club. There was a new practice centre that we did there that was £75,000 to me, and I subcontracted it for £30,000 using the outsourcing framework. And again, I can give you so many different jobs that kind of apply to that, where the margins are absolutely massive. And that's kind of what we're looking for. We're not always just targeting home services specifically. I just don't want you doing just a residential strategy, which is where we're going to break this down and come to commercial as well. So what we're going to take a look at first is our business foundations. Now, the business foundations, obviously, always, we're going to be looking at the services initially. So we need to break down what services we're going to incorporate under that niche. So within cleaning, obviously, there are so many different types of services that we can incorporate. It's just breaking these down. Now, how we do that is by looking at market demand and then exploring a residential and a commercial strategy as well. So my usual rule of thumb here is taking 2 recurring revenue strategies. That'll be obviously 1 residential and 1 commercial, and they'll be both recurring revenue. So your general cleaning with your residential, and then commercial will be your contract cleaning. And that can be applied to a number of different audiences as well. I'm not just talking offices and things like that. The list goes on. Now, once we've got those 2 set up, then we want to add on essentially like your upsells, your day-to-day upsells, your window cleaning, your gutter cleaning, carpets, things like that. And that's then going to give us a platform for day-to-day upsells within those contracts. And we can still advertise for those services as well. Again, some of them are really good profit margins. Your pressure washing, your carpet cleaning, things like that. Really good margins when it comes to an outsourcing setup. Then what we're going to add on, and especially when it comes to the pricing strategy that we're talking about here, is the additional services that give us those really, really good profit margins. Now, I just mentioned construction cleaning, for example. That is a prime example of a massive, massive profit margin. Again, graffiti removal, abseiling, window cleaning, things like that. Something that's a little bit more niche. We'll probably have to look at a slightly different strategy for it, instead of like your organic setups and things like that. But it's going to give us a much better return on our investment, and our profits are going to be a lot better. So that's really our pricing strategy that links in with the commercial, residential and commercial sector as well. Then once we've got this set up, we'll then be looking at client acquisition. And client acquisition will come once we've kind of got our online setup framework done. But we want to explore what we are going to do with client acquisition. Essentially, how are we going to generate leads, which is really, really important. Obviously, you don't have leads, you pretty much don't have a business. So client acquisition is something we'll explore, and I'll break that down for you a little bit later in the video on essentially how to get your first client with this setup. Okay. So the next is your online setup framework. Now, this is really, really important now. There's a lot of, I call them old boys, that I used to work with, window cleaners, things like that have never had a website. And you know, that's long gone now. But they used to set everything up with word of mouth, get in with some contractors, some larger cleaning companies, things like that, start getting some work off them. And then that was it. They were pretty much set because they did the work themselves. They didn't necessarily use a contractor model. Sometimes they'd hire staff. I know some guys that would still outsource as well, but they would be their day-to-day window cleaners. Some of them are making 60, 70, 80 grand a year, and they're happy. And they get constant flow of work, where they're working for a larger cleaning contractor and the work just flows through. Now, you can't look at that setup these days. It's pretty much impossible. Unless you knew someone who's in a big cleaning company and you could put a call in and say, look, I'll work for you as a sole contractor. You're probably going to have to do the work yourselves. There's probably going to not be enough margins in it to be able to outsource the work. So if that's the case and you want to be doing it with your own setup, then this is the online setup framework that we have to use. Okay, so the first thing we're going to take a look at is Google My Business. Kind of does what it says on the tin. If you don't know what Google My Business is, it's basically that page on Google when you search something and it comes up at the start, shows on the right hand side with the business. It gets you live on Google. Basically, you can generate some leads organically off the back of it. You get the map, and there's a few different setups that you can do with that as well. We have to get you fully verified with Google, and then once that's set up, that's it, you're ranked, and then you can be locally searched. That's pretty much all it is. So you get some organic leads off the back of it, happy days. They're free leads, you don't pay anything for Google My Business. The next is obviously a website. Now this is really important. The website is the key selling point for your business, pretty much. In line with that, we'll be doing blogs, project, ongoing case studies, things like that as well. What's really important in the website is good calls to action, making sure that they've got forms on the website so that a form can be submitted that will come through to your email, and then you can deal with the lead accordingly. Making sure that you've got a good number on there, and obviously your email as well. I know that's pretty obvious, but if you've never done this before, then you know it makes sense. You have to have good calls to action all over the website, good copywriting, good images. And then a tip here is actually using a virtual landline as well. So instead of putting your mobile number on a website, one thing that we take a look at with setup is looking at a national number. So if you're in the UK, you could look at, if you're in London, you could look at an 020 number or 0300 nationally. The same thing for the guys in the US, you could look at an 0800 number or something else that applies to the state as well. Subject to where we're going to be targeting initially. So that's a little tip there for you. It's called Virtual Landline. By all means, take a look at it. I think they charge about £4.50 a month, something like that. It's nothing crazy. And good setup for the guys in the UK. Sorry, that is called Virtual Landline, but you can find virtual landlines anywhere. Saves you putting your mobile number on the website. You just redirect it. Perfect. And then there's a few things that we do with more of an automated setup, where we can automate that process a bit to save you taking the initial lead inquiry as well. The next with a website is all about social proof and reviews. Now, I completely understand that if you're a complete startup business, you're not going to have reviews. That's absolutely fine. Believe it or not, some of the Google setups that we use, they ask for reviews. And it's absolutely ridiculous because you're a startup business. You just don't have any. So obviously the ways around that are simply asking friends and family to give you some reviews. If you want to just get some work out there, just start doing a bit of work. If you're doing some work for friends and family, things like that, great, just get them to leave you reviews. At the end of the day, just get some reviews on there. That's literally all it is. It's a bit of social proof. You can use some before and after images if you are going to go out and do some work as well. If not, there are a few ways around this that we have strategies around to get a bit of social proof on the website. As you then to get some work coming yourself and you get the ongoing projects and things like that, then we can switch out images and so on, videos and so on and so forth to make sure that the social proof is yours and it's there live on the website for everyone to see. The one thing here when I'm talking about this kind of setup is I'm thinking about the customer journey. Okay, so pretty much all of this, you want to be thinking about your customer journey. Excuse the state of my handwriting. But to have that on there is really, really important. Because how we want to think is, let's say we're advertising, we've got an ad out there, and the ad obviously comes in to our Google My Business or my website. Then my thinking has to be, how is this customer going to perceive what they're looking for? So if I have a customer looking for commercial window cleaning, and they click on my ad, it says window cleaning, and then they come through to the website, and my website is all about residential window cleaning. You know, there's pictures of houses, no big work or anything like that. It's all pretty standard stuff, day-to-day, general residential window cleaning. Now, the likelihood of that lead calling me is pretty slim. They'll see that I'm a window cleaner, but do they see that I have any commercial work? And that's kind of fine-tuning it a bit, because you can relate it completely different as well. If you've got someone searching for construction cleaning, they come through to your construction clean website, and you've got no builder's cleans on there whatsoever. It just says that you do a bit of deep clean or general cleaning. Then that construction clean lead just isn't going to call you. So we have to think about the customer journey, which is really important for making sure that, subject to what they're searching for, number one, we're going to be there when the search is made, and we do that with our lead generation. Number two, that they come through the journey through the website or Google My Business, and they can literally find straight away what they're searching for. And that is a strategy that we have to dial in straight from the start. If it's not dialed in, then you're going to have some serious problems with lead generation. Okay, so that's step two, your online setup framework. Now, the third of the core business pillars that we like to use here at the SCC is the outsourcing framework. Now, the outsourcing framework simply means that you're avoiding doing the work yourself. Now, if you're not used to this and you're not used to the SCC and you don't understand yet the way that I set things up, I use independent contractors and smaller businesses to actually do my cleaning work, to save me on hiring staff and obviously doing the work myself as well. When I come into cleaning, one of the first jobs I did was in Wembley in London, near the stadium. I was still working as a barrister's clerk in London at the time, and I took on the job. I priced it quite well. I think I priced it about £325 for a small kitchen deep clean in a pub. It was a little bar, and I decided to do it myself on a Saturday. Obviously, I had the weekend off from work, so I thought, right, go and do my first job. I turned up I bought a few bits of material, nothing exciting, a few scrubbers, a few cloths, a few sprays. That was literally it. When I first turned up, I remember the person said to me, I'll buy you a beer if you do it in a good job, because they obviously had a bar. So I thought, great, get this job done properly, have a nice beer, take a bit of cash. And that was the end of it. Don't tell the tax man that I asked him for cash, because I was working at the time. But anyway, long story short, I'd done the job. I absolutely hated it. I couldn't think of anything worse than doing a kitchen deep clean ever again. And instantly I started looking into how to take on staff and things like that. I started taking on staff. I took on loads of staff. I had a lot of staff at one point, well over 35 members of staff in the end. And got to the point that they were a pain in the backside. I got fed up with paying taxes. I got fed up with them calling in sick every 2 minutes. So I switched to a contractor model, and that was 9 years ago. I haven't looked back since. So we're avoiding doing the work ourselves. With the outsourcing framework, like I said, and I'll come back to this section because I've already mentioned it, we're looking at independent contractors and smaller businesses. Now when it comes to that setup, we have some specific criteria on how we onboard them. We have contracts that we put them on as well, and then specifically what we are looking at with essentially their online setup framework. So if you picture yourself as the customer, when it comes to looking at these, just think of it from a customer perspective and see how it feels coming into their website, looking at their work. Have they got social proof? Have they got good reviews? They're the guys that you're going to want to work with. Because then when it comes to profit margins and things like that, that's something that we can teach you completely separately when it comes to making sure that we're still getting a good cost and they're not just charging us retail as well. The next is do a pay per job basis. Now, pay per job is less complex and it gives you better profit margins. There will be a point in time that I could potentially say to you, let's switch to what we call a day rate model, a day rate strategy. But that comes with understanding the business, learning the services, knowing exactly how many men or women per day it's going to take to complete a job. And I got to that stage probably within about a year, and your margins increase, but there's obviously risk involved. So the best thing to do is do pay per job. Bob comes in with his contractors and I need a car park jet washed, and Bob tells me that it's going to be £10,000 to do the jet wash the car park. It's a big car park. At that point, then I will be taking a look at my profit margins and I'll be assessing the job as a whole. What I don't teach is to be a middleman. If you want to be a middleman, the setup won't work for you because I look at good profit margins. That's how I can get you to 10 grand a month in quite a short space of time. Because if you just want to be a middleman and every job that you get come in, you say you're going to put 10% on top. Okay, fine. Well, straight away, you know, we might be making £1,000 off the job, but actually the job could have a lot more value in it. So there's few different strategies that we take a look at when it comes to actually pricing up the jobs as well. Therefore, giving you better profit margins and simply meaning that we can take a look at contractors that still have the really, really good proof of work and things like that. They're going to get the job done well, but if we can look at contractors that can give us a slightly better profit margin based on the specification of the job and things like that, then happy days. When it comes to the outsourcing framework and the contractors specifically, quality control is really, really important. How we do quality control is by project sign-offs, contracts with the contractor, and then looking at payment terms as well. Now, there's specific strategies that we use when it comes to payment terms. We break everything down based on a project sign-off. The project has to be signed off and so on and so forth. And then we discuss payment terms based on project sign-off. So the client has to approve everything. The client approves everything from the start. The job, the specification, the cost, the go-ahead to get the job done. The contractor does the job. The client has to be 100% happy with absolutely everything, have it completely signed off. Then we take a look at payment. Now that payment will be already negotiated and sorted on the contract. The contract I provide all of my students specifically. It's a contract that I've used for years. It works really well because it ties everything in, pretty much that we're talking about here, with quality control, payments, terms, things like that. There's a few things that you wouldn't think of when it comes to the actual jobs that we have to get contracted. And that's really, really important to do that. And like I said, independent contractors, smaller businesses is where we're looking at. Quality control is everything when it comes to the smooth running of these types of jobs, projects, ongoing contracts, things like that as well. So if we just have a quick review and then I'll give you a breakdown of simply how to get your first client. 3 core business pillars. Step 1 is your business foundations. which includes looking at the services, your setup. Are you going to be a limited company? Are you going to be an LLC? Things like that as well. Step 2 is your online setup framework. Google My Business, websites, social proof reviews. Step 3 is the outsourcing framework. So simply avoiding doing the work yourself. We're looking at a pay-on-paper job basis with quality control. We're going to be looking at smaller businesses and independent contractors, and our contracts specifically set the project sign-off with the client and the payment terms. Now, if you have this set up correctly, then we want to get your first client. So that obviously comes down to lead generation. Now, I'll give you a quick win here on how to do this organically. The first thing you're going to be looking at is local Facebook groups. It's really easy to do. There is tons and tons and tons of work out there. I cannot stress that enough. I've always said that I could set up 1,000 cleaning companies in London alone tomorrow, and they would have enough work to go around. Posting in local Facebook groups with your current services. You can focus on one service just to get that first client. So let's say you're looking at jet washing. Create a jet washing post for local Facebook groups. Post it in a few groups. Don't go crazy. Just monitor it. Honestly, within a few minutes you'll have someone message you saying, "I'd like a quote, please." That's literally it. The second is a door-to-door flyer distribution. Again, you will have to spend a little bit of money on this, although it's still pretty much an organic process. Or you can create them yourself. That makes it completely organic. Post them locally. If you're looking at home services, if you want to target specific businesses, then do a commercial strategy and just specifically target the businesses that you want to target. You probably will need to do a bit of follow-up here as well. Follow-up is really important when it comes to lead generation. I could do quite a few videos just on follow-up alone. So door-to-door flyer, that will get you another client. And then finally, targeting local businesses. You can target them with emails, flyers, phone calls, producing a letter, asking for a meeting, things like that. Those 3 will easily get you not only your first client, probably your first 20 clients. At that point, we can look to reinvest into paid ads. Now, paid ads, we do explore a number of different options. One of the easiest setups is using local Google search. Now, the LSA setup that we use is really, really easy. There is a bit of verification involved, which we have to get sorted with you. There's something called a Google guarantee now, which looks quite fancy, to be honest with you, when you're thinking about the customer journey and they can see that you're guaranteed with Google. It's not the end of the world. Google are always introducing something fancy and new. It's just a case of keeping up with it, really. Reinvest into paid ads, and again, you can really just use one service if you want to, subject to your budgets and things like that. You can, at the same time, advertise for a number of different services as well. So if I wanted to advertise for jet washing, window cleaning, carpet cleaning, general house cleaning, things like that. And we have a few tips on setting this up alone for a commercial strategy as well. This doesn't just have to be residential. There's a few ways that we can essentially manipulate the way that Google works and produce a commercial strategy with local services at the same time. That setup you can have ongoing as part of your sales process moving forward, because I've always ran it and it's a pay per lead basis, so we're not just constantly spending money on clicks or anything like that. A pay per click strategy works really, really well with a commercial sector as you're progressing and you want to target some more higher profit margin services, things like that. If we took like graffiti removal would have to be done on a pay per click strategy because it's not advertised locally. The local side of things, again, you can still get really good margins. We can still advertise for construction, cleaning, things like that as well. It's subject to what services we come up with within your business plan. Now, if you don't know how I work at the SCC, one of the first things I do with you is a plan of the services. If you want to explore this a little bit further, I'll put a link in the comment section. By all means, click the link, book in a call with me and the team, and we can discuss how all of this works, and it can replace your income in around about a 4-month time frame. That's pretty much our target. This setup is the best blueprint for any type of cleaning company right now. especially if you want to do it with an outsourcing model. If you want to do the work yourself, essentially what we're doing is removing this section. We're still having the quality control sign-offs, the contracts will be done with the clients, payments are exactly the same, you can still work on a pay per job basis, but you'll be doing the work yourself, or you can hire staff if you want to. Specifically, I teach this method because it's the best one to use and to be in a position that gives you freedom. With this setup, you've got time, location freedom, and eventually financial freedom at the same time as well. So I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. By all means, drop a comment if there's any videos that you want me to create. It's never a problem. I see a few of you mentioned that my camera was a bit shit in the last video, so I got a new camera. So I hope you like that as well. By all means, comment anything that you would like to see, any strategies you want me to break down or anything like that. If not, I'll keep giving you some content. I hope you find it valuable. I'll see you soon.